Oh, this morning we have such an honor to have Dr. Joel Mudamalle with us. And Joel holds a PhD in theology and serves as the Director of Theology and Research at Proverbs 31 Ministries. He is the co-host of the Therapy and Theology podcast with Lisa Turkhurst and licensed counselor Jim Kress. He also serves on the preaching team at Transformation Church in Indian Lake, South Carolina. And in 2024, Joel released his first book, The Hidden Peace: Finding True Security, Strength, and Confidence Through Humility. Now, he comes to us from North Carolina, and him and his wife enjoy a full house. They have 3 boys and a little girl and 2 dogs. Okay, that seems like a theme around here. Irene has 2 bulldogs, and so if he doesn't have a theology book in his hand, you can be sure that he's coaching one of his kids in a sport or doing his best to keep up his hoops game on the basketball court. So can you please help me welcome Dr. Joel Mudamalle?
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, how are y'all doing? Good. I gotta be honest with you, when I told some of my friends, some of my guy friends that I was going to Sparkle Conference, they gave me that look. And really it was, Joel, you really have been working for a women's ministry for over 10 years, isn't it true? And I said, yes, it is. Hey, before I get started, I just want to take a moment to honor Pastors Becca and Rob. This is my first time here at River Valley, and have y'all noticed the attention to detail? Like, you see this right here? I feel like I'm preaching in the new heavens, the new earth right now. Wild, right? You pay attention to last night when everybody came out, the gust of wind that started to hit your face? Okay? Now listen, these little moments of detail matter, and they matter not purely just because of the excellence of this house, but they matter because of the passion for the heart of Jesus. And so Pastors Becca and Rob, I just want to thank you. Thank you for your love for Jesus and how you modeled that throughout here. Irene did this yesterday, so I felt like I've got to do this too. So I'm doing the good dad thing. I want to introduce you to my family. So this is the squad. There they are. I know. They get their looks from their mama, 100%. So we've got Liam, Levi, and Luke. So my oldest is 14, 12, and 10. And then my youngest, she was born on Valentine's Day, y'all. I know. And her name is Amelia Jane, but I've nicknamed her MJ after the greatest basketball player of all time. So, if you know, you know. I'm a theologian, and I really do believe that God cares deeply about our sanctification. And some of you are like, whoa, he went from pictures of family to sanctification. Like and that's who I am. That's what we're going to do. And so sanctification, I'm a theologian, so I want to define my terms. Sanctification is a theological idea, incredibly, incredibly important. And the idea is it's the process by which you and I are being conformed into the image of Christ. All right? Now, another way we can say this is sanctification has both an aim and an ambition. So our aim is Jesus, and our ambition is to become like the one that we are aiming for. Now, here's the deal. This sounds real great, 30,000 feet, but living it out, difficult, huh? Right? So here are a couple of areas of sanctification in my life, and these might feel like they're very little, but they're very true. It happens when my wife comes to me, and she says, hey, babe, I really care about our health. What she means is my health. I said, babe, have you heard about this thing called Whole30? Any of you guys heard about Whole30? Yeah? Let me tell you this, I've studied the scriptures. That is not from heaven, y'all. Here's another time that it will happen. She'll, once again, my wife, she's the center of all of my stories. She will come to me and she'll say, hey, babe, I really, really care about our health. My health. Say, hey, I really think that it's very, very important that we no longer eat white rice, but we eat cauliflower rice. Did y'all know I'm Indian? This is offensive, y'all. They will take my Indian card from me. Like, what are we doing? Now, I'm laughing. These are jokes, but some other areas of sanctification is marriage. Anybody? Yes, I know. And maybe one of the most significant ones for me in this season is the area of parenting. And now, did you notice there was one soul laugh there? And that soul laugh was because if we do not laugh, we will cry. Sanctification hit us really hard. This was years ago before MJ was born, and the boys were about 6, 4, and 11 months old, and my youngest son, Lucas, and we lived in the Chicagoland area, and my mom was about to have her birthday. And I had lived in the Pacific Northwest for many, many years, and we had moved back to the Chicagoland area, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna surprise my mom for her birthday, and this is gonna be awesome. And so my mom lived in Indianapolis, which is about a 3-hour drive, and we kind of had this idea, hey, let's do a short little road trip. There is no, by the way, no such thing as a short road trip. Let's just do a short little road trip and go surprise my mom. And y'all, we're pro-parents. Well, we've got these 3 littles. We've been doing this thing for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And so we know how to do this. So first, we eat dinner at home, because budget anybody, right? I know. Look, y'all. Then the second thing, maybe the most important thing, is before we get into the minivan, all of the children have to go to the... Y'all are pro-parents too. Wild. Exactly. And we do this. They all go to the bathroom, and I'm a bit obsessive in the things that I enjoy and the things that I love. And my friends, Shane and Shane, they had just released a brand new album called Psalms Volume 2. And oh my goodness, it's so good. And on that is one particular song. It's called, it's based off of Psalm 46. And when I say I'm obsessive about something, I mean I will play one song on repeat for like a year and a half. This is an area of sanctification for my wife. So Britt has implemented a 3-repeat rule for me when we're in a car together. To which I reply, babe, Michael Jordan won 6 championships. Can I at least get 6? And begrudgingly she says, okay, fine. And so that's what we do. And so I remember the day, we get all the kids into the van, and I've got the car ready, and the car seats are established, and Britt's in the front seat, and I sit down, and I've got my phone, and I've gone ahead and put in the maps into there, and it says calculating time and distance, and it's 3 hours to the destination. And it's like, okay, perfect, and I've got Psalm 46 up, and I'm getting ready, and y'all know what a road trip kind of feels like. It's like, it takes a second to get into it, and so it's almost like, okay, feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme. It's road trip time. And then I hear a little voice behind me that says, hey, Dad? To which I think, ignore it and it will go away. And just a little bit later, hey, Dada? This time my wife looks at me. I look at her. I say, do not be the weak link. Ignore it. It will go away. To which finally I just hear, hey, Daddy? And I'm like, no, not Daddy. And so I look back and say, yeah, Bubba, what's up? What do you need? And he goes, hey, Dad, I kind of have to go to the... What? So pro-parents, we've done this before, right? So we know you can't just go off any exits. You got to stop in a rest stop, right? And if you stop in a rest stop, it's like get off of the highway, get over to the rest stop. It's like 5 minutes off, 5 minutes back on, 10 minutes max. You can still do this thing. And I do it, racing this boy, not even letting him walk. I'm running him into the thing. All the way back, and I've looked at my time and said, 10 minutes, we're great. And we get back onto the road. And y'all, you know what happened? My phone had the audacity to recalculate time to destination. To which I'm thinking, why do you need to recalculate? I know I'm Indian, we're supposed to be good at math. It skipped a generation for me. The kids are very good, not me, but I can do 5 plus 5, 10 minutes max. Man, the phone said, new estimated arrival, 3 hours and 45 minutes. What happened? Here's what happened. There was an unexpected delay that hit me. And that unexpected delay created an unwanted detour. And that unwanted detour had me feeling all kinds of denials and rejections in all kinds of ways here. Now, it's not beyond me to think that in a room this size, so many of you came in this morning with your favorite cup of coffee, with your tea, the fit check is good, like you've done it all, and you got a smile as you walked in, and yet, deep inside of your heart, you are carrying a heavy hurt. And the reason why is because there was a delay that was so unexpected it shook you. And that delay in your life, it created a series of detours that you never asked for, that you never wanted, but now here you are left holding something that was unthinkable. And that detour, it now has you feeling like you are in the midst of a life of denial. And y'all, I believe in honesty because I believe that honesty and humility go together. And listen, if honesty and humility go together, then pride and insanity do as well. Listen, I want to be honest with us. Not only are we sitting at times, and maybe I'll just speak for myself, in the midst of a denial, but I let my brain wander to thinking this denial comes from God himself. Is God denying me? Now we're trying to make sense of a good God who can allow this to happen. I want to give you some gospel hope and truth this morning. You see, the delays and the detours of your life are not evidence of God's denial. They are, in fact, a divine redirection wrapped up in a peculiar package of grace. Now, what I wish I could tell you about the end of the story is that 3 hours and 45 minutes later, that we rolled into my mom's house, and as we roll into my mom's house, I'm like, I'm crushing life right now. My kids are going to be chanting, my dad, he's the greatest of all time. My mom looks at me in wonder and amazement and says, my son, he's the greatest of all time. And my brother just has his face to the ground. I know. And my wife is thinking, my husband, he is the greatest of all time. There's a little detail I forgot to mention to you guys. Remember I said we have these 3 kids, and Lukey at the time was 11 months old, and when I was picking him up and putting him in his car seat, he was a little bit warm to the touch. Y'all are so into it, like you know. Now here's the thing, babies especially, get a little warm. And this is our 3rd one, and so we don't kind of think too much of it. It's like, 3-hour drive, no big deal, it'll be okay. And we're driving, and I won't forget the day. It's a Friday night. We're getting off the exit to Indianapolis, not even 7 minutes away from my mom's house. And some of you women in here know that I believe that God has given mamas just an extra dose of the Holy Spirit, huh? These are not in my notes, but I feel like the Lord has given me this for some of you. God has given you dreams about your children, warnings, and inclinations to pray for them. Would you be obedient and pray for them? The Lord is speaking to you. I'm standing here today because of the prayers of a mom while her son was living reckless in his high school days. And my wife, we're driving, I'm getting off, and all of a sudden, Lukey starts to cry. You know, kids have different levels of crying. There's like, I'm annoyed, there's like, I'm hurt, and then there's something seriously wrong. And Luke, within a matter of 30 seconds, moved through each of those levels, and before he even got to something is terribly wrong, Britt unbuckled and jumped into the middle seat, and she starts screaming to me, Joey, pull over. Lukey's not responding. You ever have a moment where everything feels like it's speeding up and slowing down all at the same time? I remember pulling into a steakhouse. It's a Friday night, the place is packed, there's not even a place for me to park, and I just stop in the middle of an aisle, and I've got my phone out, and I had called 911, and I'm just yelling and screaming like, I need help, we need help, my 11-month-old son is non-responsive. And I opened up the sliding door for our gray minivan, and I take Lukey out of the car seat, and here I am, holding my 11-month-old son, and he is as hot as a nuclear missile in my hand. And his eyes are rolled to the side and he's not responding. And I'm bouncing the other phone and I'm just saying, we need help. We need help. And the operator says, sir, hold on. Help is on the way. Something happened in this moment that can only truly happen when you come to an awareness of your inability and your weakness. You see, in this moment, I was fully aware of my lack of control. Nothing I could do in that moment would cause the paramedics and the ambulance just be there. Nothing I could do could just, with a snap, get my son to be responsible for the fever. I'm sitting here in honestly utter terror. As a parent, you've got a singular goal. Keep your children safe. That's it. With the full complexity of our world, it's just keep the kids safe. Remember, I was listening to Psalm 46. The Lord met me in one of the most unexpected ways, and we began to have a conversation together. The Lord speaking directly to my heart, and me speaking back to Him, and I wrote it in my journal, and it made its way into my book, and I just want to read this journal entry to you. This was the honest conversation I was having with the Lord. It said this: God, I can't control what's happening right now. I feel like everything is falling apart, and there's nothing I can do about it. And God replied, the Lord of hosts is with you. And I said, God, every ounce of strength I thought I had has been depleted. I'm weak, I'm panicked, I don't know how I can do this. And God replied, the Lord of hosts is with you. I said, God, I feel powerless and empty. Everyone is looking to me to do something, but I'm completely at a loss. And God replied, the Lord of hosts is with you. And then finally I just said, okay, God, I believe you. You're here, and you can handle this. You see, in those panic moments, the primary thing my heart needed to be reminded of was the eternal truth of God's nearness to me, the unshakable reality of the presence of God within me. This anthem of truth, the Lord of hosts is with me, led me to face the crippling fear and the pain. You see, we found out that my son Luke, at 11 months old, had what is called a febrile seizure. It is a seizure that is induced by how fast the temperature rises, not necessarily how high it gets. And for the next 2 years, Luke had anywhere between 10 to 12 seizures a year. And then the Lord healed him. And he has been seizure-free for over 8 years. Just 6 months ago. You know, when Luke had these, I'd start doing things with Luke that was just very specific. I would only him. I don't do this with any of the other kids. But I always kiss him on the forehead. Because as a baby, if we can get to just the first inclination of a fever and can hold it off, we can, so I just would kiss his forehead to feel, is the temperature coming in? So to this day, he's 10 years old. You saw him in the picture, the youngest little boy, and I kiss him on the forehead every day before, I kissed him on the forehead before I was leaving for a trip, and you know what happened? He felt just a little bit warm to the touch. You know what happened to me? I got triggered. Do y'all know about triggers? Wouldn't it be so nice if we could just schedule our triggers? On our calendar, triggers, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. at night on a Friday, while I'm in the tub, having communion. You see, what I needed in that moment was to be reminded of that truth. See, the promise that God gave me in that moment with Luke was not the promise that everything was going to be okay, but it was something far more important. It was the promise that regardless of the situation, the circumstance, that the God of heaven and earth would be with me in it and through it. If you've got your Bibles, I'd love for you to turn to Psalm 46. This is where that verse comes from. If you've got your print Bible, just kind of turn to the middle. Psalm is in the middle. If you've got an iPhone, you're going to get there instantly. If you have an Android device, we're so sorry. I was doing some deep research and looking at the Hebrew text, and I found that every time we get a green bubble, an angel loses its wings, but no big deal. That be between you and the Lord. If I were to summarize Psalm 46, it's just made up of 11 verses, and all 11 verses are communicating one simple but far from simplistic anthem of truth. Here's what it is. You ready? God is in control. That's it. We can be done. No, I'm being serious. God is in control, and I want you to know the words that we use frame the reality in which we live in. The words that we use, they actually build the worlds that you and I live in. You know the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Worst statement ever. Are y'all messing with me right now? I would prefer sticks and stones so I can see the damage and the wounding on my body that can get healed. The words, they actually impact me deep inside. So the words that we use, they're really important. I want to give you some language, theologically substantive language to think about your relationship with God. And here's what it is. He's in control. And the words that we use have consequences. To say that He is in control means that we are not in control. To say He is in control means millionaires and billionaires are not in control. To say He is in control means that governmental authorities and rulers and they are not in control. God is in control. All 11 verses are communicating this. In fact, this is how it's broken down. Verses 1 through 3 communicate that God is in control over nature. Verses 4 through 7 let us know that God is in control over our enemies. Gosh, what relief. And then, just in case anybody's like, well, is something missing over here? Verses 8 through 11. God is in control over the entirety of the world. Here's how it starts. Chapter 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength. A helper, the Hebrew word there is azer. It has in mind a military king, and it's actually the same word that's used of Eve in Genesis. God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is sometimes found. A helper who, well, if you do ABC, then He'll be there. No. A helper who is always found in times of trouble. Therefore, Bible reading pro tip, every time there is a therefore, it is there for a reason. Why? Because He is our refuge. Because He is our strength. Because He is always found. He is always present in the midst of. Therefore, in light of this, we will not be afraid. And then the psalmist gives us some imagery to help us get into this. He says that though the earth trembles and the mountains topple into the depths of the seas, though its waters roars and foams and the mountains quake with turmoil. See, for you and I, we're a bit detached at times from the context of the biblical scriptures, and I want us for a moment to step into the mind of the ancient Israelite as they are typically hearing or singing this poem, this song. You see, each of these images would have done something to them. There would have been context for them that they would pull from. And the first one is the idea of the mountains. And the mountains in the ancient world, they were the epitome of power. Mountains could not be moved. Mountains were a place of authority. I mean, today we think of mountains as like, oh, that might be a cool place for us to go do a hike so we can do a selfie. The second image is the image of the seas. And once again, for you and I, it's like, the seas. Oh, it'd be great to do a day out on the lake on the boat, right? Some of you are like, seas. Oh, there's a beach there. Oh, we can go tanning. Well, y'all can go tanning. I'm good. You see, in the ancient world, the seas were not something that we just like played around with. The seas were the image of chaos and destruction. The seas were, don't you know, that's where the sea monster, the Leviathan, resides. Like the sea is treacherous. Can you imagine the opening of this psalm where the imagery that you have is the imagery of the object of total power and authority, something that is unshakable, collapsing into the depths of devastation and chaos? This is not bad news, this is devastating news. And some of you feel like you're living that right now, huh? Some of you feel like that might just be the journey that the Lord has you on. You see, I love the details of the scriptures. I'm a nerd, Bible nerd through and through. And how many times I've read Psalm 46 and I just would overlook this little Selah. Y'all notice the little Selah right there? What is a Selah? The Selah was a musical note that would cause you to pause. How painful was that? Did he forget what he was going to say? Is there supposed to be a slide? Somebody help him! Man, we live in a culture that is so fixated with getting to the destination as fast as humanly possible. Again, a side note, I'm so devastated and so worried that the people of God are so like, we gotta get there, and we get to the end and we look at ourselves and we despise who we've become along the way. And so the psalmist goes and says, hey, by the way, if I were to write a commentary, this would be my commentary. Slow your roll. Just slow down for a bit. And I love this because it's an invitation to the honesty of the situation. It doesn't undermine the reality of your hardship. It doesn't ask you to gloss over it, to pretend that it's not there, to stuff it underneath a rug and to roll it up. And it doesn't do that. It just says, hey, pause. Like, it is okay for a bit, for a moment, to sit with the weight of that worry. But notice this is a pause, not a period. It is one thing to assess and just be honest. It's a different thing to dwell on it. And this is what the text says, Selah, and then it says, verse 4, there is a river. And now, do you feel that? In the ancient world, the river was an image of peace and tranquility. It was the idea of shalom, of a rightly ordered world. It says this, there is a river, and its streams delight the city of God, the holy dwelling place of the Most High. God is within her, and she will not be toppled. God will help her when the morning dawns. Nations rage, kingdoms topple. The earth melts when he lifts his voice. Now, all of Psalm 46 is what's referred to as a chiastic psalm. It means that the meaning of the psalm is smack in the middle, in the center. If we want to make sense of what the psalm means, we've got to understand the very center. Where is the pivot point? Here's the pivot point. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. Notice there's another Selah. Ever wonder why that one's there? Here's my suspicion that Selah is there because the psalmist understands the condition of the human heart, the condition of our skepticism. See, in this moment, some of you are like, hey, yeah, of course, God is the Lord of hosts. For her? Like, look at her family. Yeah, they went through it. But they're on the other side, and God was so kind to provide. Like, yeah, God is for her, but he can't be for me. And some of you are like, well, of course God is the Lord of hosts for Irene. Look at what God has done. Look at the success story. Look at the beauty, the kingdom impact. Like that overcoming of addiction is for her, not for me. Some of you are like, well, yeah. You see, God is for them. But I'm unconvinced that he is for me. And I love this psalm because the psalm goes, yeah, keep it all out. Let it all out of your heart. Go ahead. And then there's an invitation. And the invitation is an invitation of humility. It says this, come. Another way you could say this is, behold. See the works of the Lord. You see, all of those things that you point to in comparison is actually confirmation of the goodness of God that is possible for your life. He says this, he says, come and see the works of the Lord who brings devastation on the earth. He makes wars cease throughout the earth. Who longs for that? He shatters bows and cuts spears to pieces. He sets wagons ablaze. He says to stop fighting and know that I am God. Exalted among the nations, exalted on the earth. And it ends with this simple but far from simplistic reminder: the Lord of armies, the Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. This is the hope of heaven that you and I need for all of our days here on earth. Now, at this point, some of you are like, Joel, that sounds great, but are you proof texting just from the Old Testament? One place in the Old Testament? No, I got you. Let's turn to the New Testament, Acts chapter 17. Acts chapter 17. This is one of those famous passages of the Apostle Paul, and he's at Mars Hill at the Areopagus. I actually had the opportunity to go to Mars Hill, and I did this event with my boss. Some of y'all might know her name, Lisa Turkhurst. Anybody? Yeah. So Lisa and I got to teach through the Pauline kind of tour, and I got to teach on Mars Hill. Wild, right? I wrote my dissertation on the city of Ephesus. Like, this was so meaningful to me. And the idea of Acts chapter 17 on Mars Hill is this location where deep thinkers would come to think deep thoughts. They're trying to figure out, like, why do bad things happen to good and humble people? Why is there so much evil in this world? How do I make sense of the pain and the suffering of my current situation? Again, some of you are like, Joel, that's great. We ain't got no Mars Hill around here. I don't see a Mars Hill in Areopagus. You're right, you don't. You know what y'all have around here? Coffee shops. I got a confession to make to you. I love going to local coffee shops when I travel. I'll walk in, and I've got like my theology books and my headphones, and I'll walk right in and sit down right next to you, and you'll look at me and you'll think, oh wow, he's so studious. He wants to study the Bible. That's true, but first, you want to know what I'm doing? Listening to your conversations. I told you, confession. Here's what I hear sometimes. I hear a group of girlfriends that are like, why would she say such meaningful, hurtful words about me when we have been through it with her? I can't handle the betrayal. Sometimes it's a group of girls and they're sitting and they're saying, well, he lied again. And he promised he wasn't going to lie anymore. And now how do I separate what is true from what is almost true? Can trust be regained? There are other times it's a group of people and they're like, we cannot make sense of the decisions of our children. Like, we raised them to love Jesus, to adore the scriptures. Like, we've done all the things, but now they're making decisions that are incongruent with the way that we've raised them, and we cannot make sense of this. And you're looking for answers. Well, the Apostle Paul is about to give you an answer. But listen, the answer he gives you is the answer you need. It might not be the one that you want. This sometimes is a heavy truth. But I want you to think about this, that Jesus had all the answers in the world. He was 100% divine and 100% human. It's called the hypostatic union. He had all the answers in the world, and yet he himself in the Garden of Gethsemane is sitting there with grief, overwhelmed with grief, where the blood capillaries from his brain are bursting, and it's like sweating blood, literally. And in that moment, he says, Lord, let this cup pass from me, but your will be done. You see, if Jesus himself had all of the answers and still felt the immense weight of uncertainty and the grief of that moment, what does that tell us today? It tells us you can have all the answers, but all the answers, they're going to just create more questions. It won't satisfy you. You need an answer that surpasses our human wisdom and understanding. This is the answer that he gives. He says this from verse 26. From one man, he has made every nationality, the Greek word there is ethnos, it has all the peoples of the world in mind, to live over the whole earth. If you're circling or highlighting, I want you to pay attention to these words. And he has determined and appointed the times and the boundaries of where they live. He did this so that they might seek God and perhaps they might reach out and find him, though he's not far from each one of us. Did y'all know that you could live in any time of human history? Any time. And yet you draw breath now? Y'all, this is not some divine roll of the dice. There is a purpose to your life. Did you know you could live anywhere geographically? That's what the text is saying. I'm just pointing back to what Paul said. Any of the times of existence and the boundaries of your existence. Like you could live anywhere. And yet you live in your house, in your apartment, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state, in this. It is not a divine roll of some divine dice. There is a purpose for your life, both for the times and the locations of where you live. Now the question is, what is that purpose? Don't you worry. Paul says it. Here's what he says, that you might seek. The Greek word here is super important. It's the same word that Homer used in the Odyssey and the Iliad and in other Greek literature. It's a word that's used to describe a person who's trapped in darkness. Just think about that for a second. Here you are, you're trapped in darkness and you're seeking, you're trying to find a way out. And as you're seeking and you're trying to find a way out, all of a sudden you grasp hands with the nail-pierced hands of Jesus himself. And you realize in that moment of desperation and weakness, when you're out of control, that you are held in the hands of the one who has control over all things. This is the promise and the hope that we need. There is a common denominator between Acts chapter 17 and this moment of being trapped in darkness, looking for a way out, that you might seek and find God. And in this moment that I held my 11-month-old son, Luke, and I was devastated. You know what that moment is? It's a moment of honesty and humility. It's a moment when you have come to the end of yourself, and in weakness and vulnerability, you come to the honest conclusion and realization that you need a hope and a strength that is beyond you. You see, humility is the gracious gift that is offered to you and I. And the wildest thing about it is often, not always, but often, the times that we get to experience the power of humility and we become aware of it is in the moments of our weakness and vulnerability. And it's like, it'd be easy for us to be like, I just want to despise that. I want to be weak. I don't want to be vulnerable. But let me just suggest to you that the thing that sustained the early church that Paul wrote about consistently to the church in Corinth and the church in Galatia and the church in Ephesus, like he kept saying in Philippians 2, like, hey, take on the humility of Christ. Christ who submitted himself to the humility of the cross. And in Philippians 2, there's this really important transition. It says that Jesus goes low into the grave, that the cross was his path to death. Therefore, he was highly exalted. If y'all want exaltation, the path to exaltation is the humility of Christ. You see, there's a bit of resistance at times to humility, and I think it's because humility has been misunderstood. You've probably heard the famous statement that is historically attributed to C.S. Lewis, though it's a bit debated whether he said it or not. The definition of humility is often, humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's just thinking of yourself less often, right? Just fair warning, incredibly dangerous to disagree with C.S. Lewis. So I'm not going to disagree with him, but I'm going to suggest that humility has a starting spot, and the starting spot, friends, is not me. You see, humility is a three-part movement. It first starts with awareness of who God is. If I know who God is, then I can know who I am. So much of the chaos of our world is we're trying to make sense of ourselves without knowing who God is. And he's the one who created us. And if I know who God is and now I rightly know who I am, I can rightly know other image bearers of God. Do you see the flow and the momentum of this? Humility is three things for us. Humility is a protection. Why is it a protection? It's a protection because humility refuses to allow you to think too low of yourself. You are made in the likeness and image of God. Those two Hebrew words, image and likeness, shelem and demut, they were used of ancient children of royalty. Like, think about that for a second. You are a daughter of the King of heaven and earth. I was speaking at an event the other month, and my daughter was with me, and she would not come up on the stage. She was so shy, and after I'd gotten done teaching and preaching, and all of a sudden that girl, she ran on that stage, and she was jumping on the drums, which is like a magnet for kids. And I'm like, baby, don't do that, you know? And she just said, my daddy was here. I can do what I want to do. Okay, I just want to make a connection here. You and I get to walk with just a little bit of swagger, not because of who we are, but because of who Dad is. Humility is a protection. Now, humility is also a prevention. Humility prevents us from thinking too high of ourselves. Because listen, if we think too low of ourselves, people are going to walk all over us, and nobody wants to get walked over. But if we think too high of ourselves, inevitably you and I will be the ones who walk all over other people. We will view relationships like they are pawns on a chessboard, and we'll be willing to sacrifice them so long as I get what I want, when I want it, and how I want it. I like to refer to this as the unholy trinity of me, myself, and I. The viral TikTok anthem of this is, you do you, boo. And the last thing is that humility is a preservation. For those of you that want safety, you want security, you want the assurance of the comfort of the presence of God, humility preserves us in the faithful hands of God. And I'm telling you, there's no other place for you and I to be more safe than in the faithful hands of God. He is the Lord of hosts. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for being a God who is present, for being a God who is in total control, for being a God who uses even our weakness and our vulnerabilities and our sorrows and our griefs to remind us of the one who can hold us and sustain us, not in the absence of all of that, but in the midst of it. Lord, I pray that you would be near to the brokenhearted, bind up their wounds, and in the process, let these wounded healers be healers to the people that you have, that you've created, that you desire to return home to the Father. We trust you and we love you. Amen.